Hello and welcome. This is Tom here from Own Don't Rent, making your home ownership dreams a reality. In this video, part 4, today we're talking about the deposit finance with our legal expert here in Australia, Mr. Tony Cordato. Thank you so much, Tony, for being here with us today.
Pleasure to be here, Tom.
Now, in this video, we have 4 questions to ask you about the deposit finance.
Right.
Now, the number one is it possible for someone to be financed by a bank, but also borrow the money for the deposit from the seller?
Yes, it is possible, and it's often a good idea.
Right.
Because here you have a seller selling a house. The buyer maybe is able to get 80% finance from the bank. Maybe they've got 10,000, 10% deposit, and they're missing. There's a gap for the other $10,000.
Right.
The seller can step in and say, you know what, I really do want to sell this house. I'm happy with the price. I'm happy to finance the gap. And that's called deposit finance.
Right. So most of the time, the bank would like to have at least 20% deposit from the buyer, and also that when the buyer have a 20% deposit, what did they say? Do they have to pay any mortgage insurance for it, Tony?
No, below 80% or below, the borrower does not pay mortgage insurance. So if they're buying a property for 100,000 and they borrow 80,000 from the bank, no mortgage insurance. They borrow 81,000, maybe there'll be mortgage insurance.
Right.
And mortgage insurance is very expensive.
Right. So the second one is, who would buy with the deposit finance? What kind of buyer do you think?
Well, a buyer that's able to borrow from the bank, but not quite enough, or they don't want to borrow more than 80%. But everything else is fine. They're good payers, they've got a good job, they qualify for a loan. Right. So for a seller to give them the gap is almost no risk because they're very good borrowers.
Right. Yeah, and the third one, what does a deposit finance buyer need to sign, and what is their rights?
Well, you know, when it's a loan, it's like a standard bank loan. When you sign a standard bank loan, you sign a loan agreement,
right.
You sign a mortgage, and everything's fine for the bank loan. For deposit finance, you sign a loan contract, you sign a mortgage, and one more thing, which is called a caveat, and you're fine for the deposit finance loan.
Right. Does that make it easy for them to buy their home right away? B, it is they can easily get the loan from the bank.
Well, that's right. And the other thing about deposit finance is it's exactly the same interest rate normally as you pay the bank.
Right.
If they're paying the bank 7%, they pay 7% on the deposit finance. The only thing different is the bank loan might be 30 years, but the deposit finance no more than 5 years.
Right.
So that they pay that off first and then they pay the bank over time.
Right. And the last one is the question we want to ask you, Tony. Why would a seller sell with the deposit finance?
Well, they've got a buyer who's happy to pay their price.
Right.
They give the difference, the gap, between what the bank will lend the buyer and what the buyer's got in their hand, and they receive interest on that gap in the meantime. So what's better, receiving 7.5% interest on your deposit finance, or putting the same money in the bank and receiving 5% or 6%?
That's
it's a good
right.
investment.
It's all come down to a win-win situation here with both seller and the buyer.
Yes, it does.
Right. I'm sure that people out there will have a lot of more questions to ask you regarding about all these things. Would you have a website or an email that people can contact you, Tony?
Yes, I do. The website's probably the best. It's www.vendorfinancelawyer, that's all one word, .com.au. And if you go to the Contact Me button, there's emails, address and other addresses. But there's a lot of good information about this strategy on the website. I think worth reading.
Cool. Thank you so much for being here with us, Tony. This is a great information and we really appreciate your time today.
Pleasure.
Cheers. This is Tom here from Own Don't Rent, making your home own dreams a reality. I hope this video is help. Until next week, have a great day. Thank you.